It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Medical experts are calling for proper health information, awareness and a literacy campaign by the Nigerian authorities as a way to check the spread of the novel coronavirus. The advice is coming as the Lagos State and the federal government are urging Nigerians not to panic as there are adequate measures in place to check the disease. But the experts want a more honest and open approach on the part of the authorities on the reality of the Nigerian health sector by effectively taking charge of the communication channels to avoid more transmission of the virus. Our Rise News correspondent has the report.
One patient under watch in Lagos, 39 persons quarantined in Ogun, some more in Plateau State. No one knows how many more are at risk in other parts of the country as the authorities track more contacts. That's the reality of the novel coronavirus in Nigeria, Africa's most populous country. Since the discovery was made public early Friday morning, the worry, or if you like, panic button, has been put in an active mode. It is Nigeria after all. No one is sure, and the capacity of the authorities to effectively contain the virus is a big issue for many.
The people that have been trained to handle matters that are on the ground to do it, and that we're doing everything to ensure that if anything happens, you've seen all sort of person-to-person and incident commanders and people that will go around ensuring that we can locate suspects or contacts. That's the word.
We cannot trace all the contacts. Let's be factual here. Now, what we're seeing is we've seen an Italian. We don't know, we don't understand the depths of how this thing has gone to. So, I mean, what government ought to have done, or what they should be doing, is to honestly strengthen that public discourse, public information, proper information being disseminated to the people on the things that they need to do, on precautions they need to take, and how to even limit some specific actions and gatherings that can promote the spread of those virus, okay?
The rumor was rife a day after that the patient being observed at the Yaba facility made an attempt to escape because of the status of the center. The authorities dismissed the report, but admitted that he has indeed been moved to a better place.
What we'll be doing, and for practitioners like yourselves to also come around this facility and see for themselves, what all of you are doing.
Here is Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy appearing in the protective suit for medical workers responding to the emergency while on a visit to the center on Sunday. How many of the kits are available in reality to the doctors and others, the authorities have not stated.
Sincerity, honesty, truth in public health is so essential. It's far, far more important than hope. It's far more important than photo ops. It's far more important than make-believe. Because the challenge is this: once you are not being sincere, once you are not telling us the weakness and the challenges you are having, okay, what you do is that you are going to compromise the thorough response necessary, to beat down epidemic and diseases.
On the streets, the story is a mixed bag. Ignorance, optimism, they both combine to tell the story of what the average Nigerian knows about COVID-19.
Coronavirus is not something that we're supposed to be scared for it in Nigeria, because we don't have problem something like that in Nigeria. The reason why I say this, we don't eat what those people are eating.
Well, all I would just tell my people, we should just be careful. Washing our hands is part of it. We've had so many. Ebola was, I think, 4 years ago, and we escaped through.
Quarantined a lot of people that had that Ebola virus when the guy from Liberia came into Nigeria. So similarly, this Italian man, if he's quarantined with people that he was with, and then they check everybody I had contact with, we can deal with it.
Despite repeated assurances by the authorities both at the state and federal levels, there are those who think it is impossible to trace all the contacts that the carrier may have been in touch with owing to the reality of the Nigerian system. But even to the worst of pessimists, Nigeria can still contain the deadly virus if health information and literacy are accorded a top priority for the people to know the do's and don'ts of breaking the cycle of transmission. Tokunbo Oyetunji, Arise News, Lagos.
I appreciate the positive note that report ended on.
Yeah.
It's important to get the proper information. I'm not sure if you have been repeatedly subjected to this WhatsApp message as I have been, that anti-malarial drugs cure coronavirus.
Oh,
Things like that
goodness.
is so dangerous. People need to stop. Forwarded at sent. Don't do that. Check the facts, because it's misinformation and it could get people killed. What does malaria have to do with the virus?
Well, I think first, the report is an eye-opening report. But first, let's commend the Nigerian authorities for the efforts that have been made so far. According to the minister, 58 persons have been isolated. Persons who had direct contact with the, in this case, the 44-year-old Italian who tested, positive to coronavirus in Nigeria. Then the authorities have also made efforts to engage Turkish Airlines to make the manifest available. And those contacts are already being traced. But it's unfortunate that what we hear is that many of the passengers whose names appeared on the manifest gave fake phone numbers.
Yes.
And the authorities are saying, look, the airlines should take extra precaution to make sure that they give their passengers contact tracing forms and that the information on that paper is, accurate. But you know how our people are, sometimes people will say it to be an invasion of their privacy for them to give their phone numbers. What all this indicates, of course, is that a lot more still needs to be done in terms of public enlightenment, in terms of public sensitization. Nigerians are very religious people. I keep saying this. Before you know it now, the whole thing will be turned into a matter of religion. And prophets and pastors and all kinds of soothsayers will take over, will seize the initiative. Government should not allow that to happen. And that is why it is good news that many more states are getting onto this coronavirus preparation thing. You have Lagos State, you have Ogun State, Edo State. I read a story about Ekiti State also, Benue, Plateau. So we have more states. And every other state that is not yet getting involved in this sensitization process should please do so. They keep telling us, the authorities keep telling us not to panic. But, well, can you blame Nigerians if they panic? When even in the United Kingdom, there is very big panic. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is even asking for NHS volunteers, for the UK to get ready. The UK alone has already 39 cases. Schools have been shut down. And I keep repeating it each time we discuss this subject, that perhaps there are some lessons we can learn from other places. Should we also start, closing down schools? Should we, start telling people that maybe parties, these weekend parties where people are crowded and, everybody is, having contact with the other person, maybe we should suspend it for a while. Even in the UK, the government is proposing restrictions on public gatherings. So we still need to take a few more, proactive steps.
Absolutely, because public enlightenment is key. I mean, it was a bit comical, but at the same time very worrying when we heard the man on the street say that we don't have those kind of problems here, so coronavirus isn't the problem, you know? We don't eat those kind of things here. So when you hear things like that, it makes you realize that, yes, there's still a long way to go in terms of ensuring that the public actually know what is going on. So it's good that the government is making the calls that they are. Once again, kudos to the Nigerian authorities. I mean, even though we're speaking about the fact that it's hard for us to contact trace because of certain issues, such as people giving fake phone numbers, I think the fact that we got our patient zero and the fact that we got the number of people quarantined that we did goes to show that we're more proactive than a lot of countries on this with our limited resources. Yes. So really and truly, we're doing our very best.
I think so. I think it's really commendable. However, the efforts of the health authorities will come to naught if travel restrictions are not imposed.
Exactly.
Why do we have wide open borders at this point?
Honestly, that's the first thing.
Well, in any case, I think we also have to worry more about the myths. I read a story that a certain Nigerian professor says that he has found a cure and that he had had a cure for coronavirus since 2015. Now, the authorities should manage all of that very well, before people are misled. And the name of the drug is said to be Rigifen, But, I mean, the authorities should know what to do. And there are people who are saying we're in warm, climates, that maybe coronavirus will not survive. We hope so.
We certainly do.
We really do.
We'll take a short break at this point. Please stay with us for more on the news.
welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Now with us in the studio is Rutus Odiri with Business Stories.
Morning.
Rutus?
Morning. How are you all doing?
Well, we're good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So what we've been looking at is the United Nations Human Development Reports for 2019. It was just updated, I believe, a couple of days ago. And they were looking at the top 10, they ranked 184 countries for life expectancy. And the top 10 countries were Hong Kong, Japan, Switzerland, Singapore, Italy, Spain, Australia, Iceland, Israel, and South Korea. And those particular countries, as far as the average life expectancy, the highest, I believe, was about 84 years. It's 2.4. So, and then the lowest was about 84, and the lowest was at 82. That's for the top 10. For the lowest bottom 10, sadly, they were all from Africa. Right? And Nigeria ranked 180 out of 184, unfortunately. It wasn't very encouraging. Now the thing is this, though.
That is really tragic.
Yeah. So the thing is, the three main triggers that they use for life expectancy was 1, healthcare, access to healthcare. 2, access to family and community, I believe, from socializing and stuff like that, and being able to have people to fall back on. And 3, a sense of purpose, according to the United Nations. Now, I'll throw it to you three to tell me what your thoughts are, but for me and for what I've been looking at, one of the greatest sense of purpose that you can get, I believe, is from employment, right? Yeah. Having to, like me showing up on the morning show with Dr. Abati and Tundu and Leila. Right, exactly. Adding value, being innovative, and so on and so forth. So if you look at where the African nations lie, you now have to ask yourself about the budgets that are allocated to healthcare, the number of people who can access healthcare in African countries. Of course, for Nigeria, it's mostly people who are in employment that are able to access healthcare. People who are not employed are not able to do that. The discussion about universal healthcare, the budgets that are supposed to be allocated for that, the costs of healthcare facilities, and then you look at the family units and how families and communities are affected in African nations with regards to issues like security and so on. And then the third one, the sense of purpose, and so how that ties into life expectancy. We know where our unemployment figures are and how high they are. Again, the Bureau of Statistics has not given us our last updated unemployment figures were released in the third quarter of 2018, and now it's 2020. So we still don't have those figures. Now, if you couch all these three things together, you can see that the African nations have a long way to go as far as rising on life expectancy. For those bottom 10 countries, the average life expectancy was about 58, 59 years. So it's not very encouraging with regards to the list, and what the United Nations essentially is saying that there's still a lot of work to be done. But again, I was curious to think of what you all three think about as far as, again, a tied sense of purpose to employment, but it could be hobbies, it could be helping people. Wondering what you thought.
Faith. Like Dr. Abati was saying earlier, we're quite a prayerful bunch of people. And when you look around you, you don't have employment, you have no access or scant access to healthcare, your life is kind of bleak. This is why people look to some sort of religion to give them hope. Because without it, you're so right, without a sense of purpose, really, what's the point?
Right.
Exactly. This is actually really sad.
Life expectancy is the measurement of, how long an average person
so it's average
lives in a particular country. So it's the mean value, as different from the mode value or the median value, because you can have, an average figure, but at the same time, you could still have certain individuals who live longer
than that, right?
Yes. What the Human Development Index report gives Nigeria is an average age of about 54.3 years. Right. Now, but in spite of that, we still have some people who are just lucky to live longer. Now, but it shouldn't be a matter of luck, because if you look at the top countries in that report where you have longer life expectancy rates, Japan, Israel,
Hong Kong,
Singapore,
Switzerland,
Hong Kong, which is right at the top of the table. These are countries where they have very highly developed, healthcare systems, and where expectations are better met, and where, well, if we may say so, government is more responsible.
Right.
And, Nigeria at number 180 out of 184. What is even more scandalous is that we are rated behind countries like Guinea-Bissau,
Right.
like South Sudan, like Mali, Côte d'Ivoire. I saw that and I was like, wow.
And then we also have to look at things like diet and stress, because stress actually kills. And let's also not forget, women, on average, live longer than men.
Yes,
Men's
sure.
lifestyle choices leave a bit to be desired. I'm not judging you, gentlemen.
Women are less prone to risky behavior.
Yes. Men make some very odd choices.
I agree with you, Tunde. And you know what's also interesting here? When I got into work this morning, the first thing I said to Dr. Habasi was, I'm so sad. I took a look at the Henley Passport Index 2020 last night, and Nigeria, I even wrote it down, is ranked 96th out of 107 passports in the world.
Right.
And I said, have we really gotten that bad? And then we come on and we're discussing the latest in our Human Development Index, and we're hearing 180 over 184. And I think you're right. That sense of purpose is so important. Because when people don't have a sense of purpose, first of all, let's talk about mental health.
Right.
We're talking about access to healthcare. What about access to mental health care as well? Everything seems non-existent. We're now the poverty capital of the world. There's no way that anybody is living in absolute poverty right now, and that person does not need access to mental health care, access to physical health care, access to all those things. And if you don't have those things, you're not going to have any sense of purpose. You're going to see yourself as worthless, no value to your life. And it's really sad. Like, I feel like this is really shocking news. I did not know it was this
Although
bad.
when we talk about healthcare,
Yes.
I think we should qualify it. Access to affordable healthcare.
Exactly.
Yes, because part of the crisis we have in Nigeria, which may also be responsible for low life expectancy, is that people don't have access to affordable healthcare.
Right, correct.
Nigeria came up with a health insurance scheme. We have a national health insurance scheme.
the NHIS.
Now, that national health insurance scheme has not been allowed to work by certain persons. So you find many Nigerians, when they want to access medical care, they have to do out-of-pocket, spending.
Right.
And with the, poverty in the land, as Leila pointed out, they really can't afford it. And you find many people seeking alternative means of healthcare, alternative means that could be a very
traditional.
Right. They're
But
still
you
very
said
popular.
something I found really odd. One thing I thought, no matter what, we will always get right is the sense of community, the family ties. But you raised that in the report, and I thought about it. The fact that we've had this recent mass exodus to Canada, to the UK, what have you. Those people who have left, their parents, their elderly parents, could get lonely, depressed. It actually will affect their quality of life, because where your kids and your grandkids, they've all gone to greener pasture.
Well, I mean, while family is important, because when people are ill and they have people around them, yes, it helps for them to recover. And, sense of community, yes, that looks like a cultural thing for Africans. But it could also sometimes be a burden. If you are in a family and you are the only one that can mobilize, a little funds, some amount of money, you could have this extended family system suppressing you.
Yes.
You are perpetually, giving people money. People will have a baby, and then that's when it will occur to them to come to you to come and pay hospital bills. And oftentimes my standard response is, look, your wife was pregnant for 9 months. Why should I be the one to pay hospital bill when you had enough notice? And you get those pressures from everywhere. You are paying school fees here. You are even giving people money to take a third wife. They think it's your responsibility. So we also have to probably reorientate our people.
But I think we also need to really wake up. Like, I think I mentioned it on the show last week when I spoke about India and how this man, Devi Shetty, developed the Narayana healthcare city where everyone pays the exact same price for healthcare. He partnered with the government to develop the cheapest possible healthcare insurance scheme for farmers, people in rural communities that couldn't afford to pay. They were paying via their telephones every month. I think something as little as 5 cents, or in total it came to something like $2 a year or something like that. And there were were barriers, but they found a way to make it work. They found a way to ensure that now people can get treated at the barest minimum cost. And that's the thing. There are ways to actually get these systems up and running. We just have to think outside of the box. It takes both government and the private sector. If India can do it, we can do it as well. Nigeria has such a huge... That's what I'm saying. We don't want to.
Yes.
There are all these models in the world to show us that it can work, and we're still sitting here discussing the fact that we don't have access to healthcare. It's so awful.
And you said they paid with their telephones.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about mobile money and financial inclusion, right? So we have an 80% financial inclusion target for 2020, although it's been moved to 95% 2024, 2023. Mobile money is goes through the telcos. The telcos are the key. If you look at GDP growth for the ICT sector and the telecommunications sector, it's been a cash cow for the economy. It's been one of these sectors that's been doing very well. There have to be moves made. There have been moves have been made, but we still need to push forward in being able to spread financial inclusion through the telecommunications companies.
As long as the telcos don't, abuse the opportunity with frivolous charges, which is a major problem in Nigeria.
Been an issue. In fact, funny enough, a couple of the telcos, one of them has released their financials for 2019. Voice and data was one of their revenue drivers, with their financials. But still, as Dr. Abate has said, they have to. It's for them to not abuse it, but it's a key driver with regards to Leila's example as to getting this to the rural areas and developing people.
There's just such a lack of political will to get things done.
And all of these things are tied. For people to have a sense of purpose, maybe we also need to do a lot, invest in people, in education, because all of these are interconnected. It's not just affordable healthcare. If people are educated, they have skills, they can compete, they probably will also live longer because they will be more confident.
Yes, and really work actually gives your life some kind of definition, some kind of dignity, meaning. Lolling about all day is really a recipe for disaster.
It leads you to your purpose. I mean, you cannot fulfill whatever purpose is without work. Honestly.
Very
wow, thanks, Rotus, for the bad
news. Development Index.
Yes, indeed.
Let's hope that for 2020, Nigeria will improve. And do better. Yes, because everything is almost upside down. Even all the credit rating agencies, they've said our economy is now negative.
Thank you, Rotus. Have a good day. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back with sports headlines. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to look at the latest headlines in sports today is Aaron Akerejola, Arise sports analyst. Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Leila. Good morning, Tunde. You're looking regal today. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
You're on the point.
Let's start it off with some good news. And this is expected. The boxing world will be treated to a summer delight, literally, because right now, let's say the British world champion, Anthony Joshua, has confirmed that he's going to go against his mandatory challenger, talking about Kubrat Pulev, the Bulgarian, for the IBF, WBA, and WBO belt. So, as it stands right now, the 20th of June is actually set, and a lot is expected from these two boxers as they'll be slugging it out at the Tottenham Stadium. Brand new stadium just built last year, in London, and certainly this is the first time in almost 2 years that Anthony Joshua is returning back to London, to the UK to actually fight. So this is one homecoming for Anthony Joshua, and he knows he has to keep his eyes on the prize. Kubrat Pulev is no pushover. They were supposed to meet some years ago, but Pulev actually pulled out due to an injury. So this fight is going to happen, and the camp of Anthony Joshua saying they're not keeping an eye on what's on Tyson Fury, because the entire UK wants the unification fight, and that cannot happen immediately because just 24 hours before then, Deontay Wilder also actually triggered the clause that will happen, that will see them go for a trilogy. As a matter of fact, July 18 is going to happen at the Las Vegas MGM Grand, same venue he actually lost, talking about Deontay Wilder, to Tyson Fury. So let's see that one happen. So we're going to be having almost like 2 semifinals that will determine the ultimate final. If Tyson Fury can steamroll Deontay Wilder like he did in the second fight, certainly he will be hoping in December he might be able to fight Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua knows he's been in this situation before, whereby he needs to keep his eye on the prize and not look at the bigger prize. He got he got knocked out and he got actually sidetracked by by fighting Deontay Wilder, that Anthony Davis Jr. became a cog in the wheel. So let's see what happens. But 2 major fights with, some people say, maybe a very straight outcome. I would say we don't know what to expect yet. But we know that if these guys go into the ring with their heads straight, work hard in training, certainly we might just be seeing an Anthony Joshua and a Tyson Fury in a unification bout.
Well, what I find curious about it is that in all the conversations around this, it's like the commentators are just looking beyond the Anthony Joshua and Kubra Pulev fight. And of course, Pulev is not a pushover.
No, he's
29, not. 29 encounters. He's only lost once. So he has a very good record. But in any case, he's 38. So he's older than Anthony Joshua.
8 years older.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that will give Anthony Joshua some kind of advantage. But I will imagine that Anthony Joshua and his trainer, will take that encounter very seriously and not treat it as if it's just by the way, because much of the talk is about Anthony Joshua meeting
Tyson Fury.
But what happens if in July, Deontay Wilder is able to beat Tyson Fury, although many are not giving him that chance.
I'm giving him the chance. I'm giving him the chance.
They are hoping that Tyson Fury, will again beat Deontay Wilder.
If Deontay Wilder upsets Tyson Fury, certainly the Joshua Wilder bout and the talk about it will certainly come up again. It's, as it is right now, with Anthony Joshua losing, it actually blew the entire heavyweight category open. So it's not any man taking a claim for himself or actually saying that I hold the keys to the kingdom. You will need to actually go there, earn your stripes, actually go into the boxing ring and actually knock somebody out or get a win after 12 rounds and come out and look at the next opponent. So right now, everyone is trying to keep to their corner for it now and not get ahead of themselves, because the fighters do know. Because from all indication, looking at the videos time and time again, Deontay Wilder was too cocky going into the fight, and he felt if he was able to floor and bring this man to the canvas in 2 rounds, talking about Tyson Fury, he could do it again. And he was in for a rude awakening. He's yet to recover, made a viral video claiming that the king will be back, that he's going to do this, he's going to do that. People have decided to take it different ways. They said that some people said that he actually insulted Jesus Christ, and that was the way of them getting back to, that's the way of God fighting against him. And there's so much going on.
Anyway, I would like to see Anthony Joshua beat Tyson Fury, if they ever, come together.
So, but he will need to do his deal.
Because Tyson Fury has been putting down Anthony Joshua. As if, his boxing is not good enough. It would be nice to see Anthony Joshua someday humiliate Tyson Fury.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that.
It will be difficult because...
Well, I know you're a Tyson Fury man.
No, the point is this. Right now, it's the advantage that Tyson Fury has. In the game right now, Tyson Fury is one of the biggest guys in the game. He's almost 6'9", and that is massive. And Anthony Joshua is about 6'5". Deontay Wilder is about 6'7".
So is it about size?
Size do matter, because it actually, the reach and ultimately matters. That means you can actually keep your opponent at bay and actually just strike your opponent from a distance. So size do matter. This is almost even because he's 6'5". Kubra Pulev is actually 6'4.5". So the difference is not that much. But for Tyson Fury, and that was what helped Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder.
Well, it's a question of technique. It's also a question of style.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's more important than size.
In boxing, everything counts.
Yeah, but
ultimately.
I think I definitely say the technique would count more if we're talking about the difference between 6'7" and 6'9", or 6'5" and 6'7", than size. That's like a 2-4 inch difference. It's not as if we're talking about a fighter that's 5'5" going up against Tyson Fury.
Let's see what happens. You might be right, because Muhammad Ali was not the biggest of boxers, not the tallest of boxers.
But technique.
The technique, the rope-a-dope, certainly, that would mean that you take a lot of beating. That would mean you take a lot of punishment.
What happened to him in
Look at that. That means you need to take a lot of punishment.
I'm not a fan of boxing. Everybody was like me, no boxing.
Tyson Fury's coach talks about what he calls this skunk style. What is that?
No, the point, the idea is, look at it, being in your face. Because that was something that Deontay Wilder did not expect, being in your face. Because he was always, Deontay Wilder has a God-given right hand that will knock anybody on earth silly, provided he can actually connect. And he didn't find the opportunity to connect because Tyson Fury kept on.
He was very aggressive.
Very, very aggressive in that particular fight. And rather unfortunate for Deontay Wilder right now. He has to lick his wound. I would have expected him to take an easy route back to the top by probably maybe getting some one more fights, chin-up fights to get back into the groove and get his confidence back. But right now, he wants to go for the jugular. I wish him all the best. I think if he actually trains hard enough and not take anything for granted, he might just win. It's still the same venue, the Las Vegas, the MGM.
He should learn from Andy Ruiz Jr.
And not go and party. Now, that's another thing with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is also like a dynamite. You don't know what to expect from him. He can go off at any time. We saw what he did after winning in 2015 against Vladimir Klitschko. We expected him to go on and do great things, and he just spiraled out of control, went into depression, went into drugs, and his life just took a different turn. He's gotten his life back together right now. We're hoping he stays that way. Now, moving away from that, not too good news actually came in very late yesterday night, and that was the fact that Lobby Stars, the team in the Nigeria Premier League, they are from Nasarawa State. They were moving from Ilorin to their home base where their bus actually caught fire. They were going back to Makurdi where their bus caught fire, and those were the scenes. But the news now is it's been confirmed that no life was lost, but properties were damaged, people lost belongings, but the bus was set on fire. We're not sure what resulted to this, but it was even scary that they were even driving late at night. So these were videos taken by the players right at the scene when and the bus just went. It was just an inferno that just engulfed the entire bus.
Sadly, in Nigeria, the fire service is, not developed enough. If you're unlucky to have this kind of fire incident on the highway or anywhere on the road, you may just find yourself being helpless.
Yes.
However, it's good news that no life was lost.
Yes.
Because that would have been very tragic indeed. Yes, shortly after, I think they were able to beat Kwara FC.
Yeah, the Kwara United 1-0.
Yes, 1-0, and then only to meet tragedy on the way back home.
A lot of talk has been spoken about the welfare of these players and the organization of the league generally, because we've seen these things happen. We've seen these boys being maimed. We've seen them being waylaid. We've seen them being robbed. Accidents do happen. And there have been calls for better administration to ensure that these players are well protected. First of all, a lot of them do complain that they don't even get paid properly.
Wasn't that the reason FIFA decided in August 2019 to send Samura, I think that's her name, the FIFA Secretary General, to take over CAF, the running of CAF and some of these clubs in Africa for a while. And I think she was in charge from August till end of January.
Yes.
Yes, and that's a big problem. And it's been said also that some Nigerian teams, are also affected in terms of welfare, in terms of non-payment of salaries, and leaving these footballers, at the mercy of the owners of the clubs. I don't want to mention the name of the Nigerian football club,
No, but it's no. Whether you mention it, it's actually open news because FIFPro came out last week and actually listed 5 clubs, not just in Nigeria, but in the entirety of Africa, and advised players not to go to them. And
what are these clubs that they listed?
So, of course, most prominent of them all is FC Ifeanyi here in Nigeria.
That's from Nigeria.
Yes, because you look at that and you say that for a team that is being owned by a billionaire and they were doing things right, the question is, how did it all go wrong?
Well, I don't want to judge anybody, but it's not just Nigeria. There's also the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Club Africain, for example, which is a very big club in Africa, in the African scene also.
You have that problem, and I guess that there are lessons that those who set up these football teams can learn from other places.
Football is expensive business.
When they do not pay them, when they do not take care of them, then they will go and get new players, throw these other ones away. So it looks like some kind of a violation of labor laws.
That's actually disgusting.
Honestly.
No, club owners, several people love football. Like we've spoken about Dangote trying to get into football. Football business is extremely expensive business because the players, whether you like it or not, so far they are contracted to play. Whether the club makes money or not, they will request to be paid. And FIFA always mandates that no matter what happens, you should play. And that's why they said financial fair play is being put in place to ensure that you do not pay, you do not pay or do not contract people more than you can actually play.
Anyway, there's still a lot of work for FIFA and FIFPro.
Yes, to do, actually.
Particularly in
Thanks,
Africa.
Aaron.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.